Hello，那我就用中文开场啊！欢迎大家来到 OpenSpace 公开课。那 OpenSpace 公开课是由登电社区OpenBuild 还有 Rebase 社区一起主办的这个技术新分享活动。这一次很高兴邀请到那个 张，然后来自那个 Nexus 待会儿他会跟我们分享怎么在 Nexus 上做开发。欢迎 Joseph。
Okay, thank you for the introduction. 大家好的，我的名字是 Joseph。我是美国出生的，长大的，所以我的中文说的不好。我的妈妈是韩国人，爸爸是中国人，所以我说中文的时候有一点口音。So most of the presentation, I'll be trying to do this in English. But thank you so much for that warm introduction. I'm going to see if I can share screen. Let's see, one second. So welcome everyone. Today I'll be doing a tutorial on how you should build an app on the Nexus Layer 1 within a minute. I'm going to walk us through specifically how we're going to build this NFT platform, which I think is really interesting. You can see all of the documentation here on this website. I will have Bria able to drop that link to you guys in the chat or like after this introduction. So what I'm going to do here, we have an example for a quick start development. So this is how you can start with like various other items here. As you can see, like network details, this is how you can have a very quick start to developing. When you read through here, this just deploys a very basic app. I believe this is just a counter app that shows you how you can deploy onto our Explorer. So what I'm going to show you guys today is how to build an NFT platform. And so when I first got into building like in crypto or building in blockchain, I thought it was like really confusing. Everything to me was like really overwhelming. I didn't really know where to start. And so I pieced together also a tutorial on Web3 fundamentals. If you guys wanted to go through and just read through and get an understanding from like a 0 to 100, I recommend that you read this tab through first so you understand broadly what it is that we're doing. And this will help you onboard and code a lot faster. But today we'll talk about how to build an NFT platform. So I'm going to show you guys how to build an NFT platform with Next.js 13+, including TypeScript, Hardhat, and Ethers.js. This will allow users to create your own custom NFT collections, upload and manage collection artwork, mint NFTs, view and transfer owned NFTs, and update collection metadata when that metadata is not frozen. So specifically, what you guys will be able to do is create a platform that other people can use to create NFTs. So it's not just that you create your own NFT, is that you're creating a platform that other people can use. So what I will explain from a very high level, I'm going to first talk about what this project is, what an NFT is, and then what you can do with the various parts of the contract. So the core part of our project is two parts. So the first part is that we want to actually write the NFT creation script. So this is how users are actually creating the NFT. The second part is the front end that allows users to visually interface with the NFT creation. So we have like the logic, the code logic for creating the NFT. And in the second part, we have the UI or the front end design for how users can interact with the NFT creation. With regards to this project, this is our core file, simplenft.sol. This is written in Solidity. Solidity is a language that is very standard for writing smart contracts. The way to think about smart contracts is that they're programs that run which have very clearly defined rules. So the way that I think of a smart contract is like it's like a vending machine. So if you think of a vending machine, basically a vending machine, it takes in money and then it gives you like Coca-Cola or something. And in the same way, a smart contract, it takes in something and then it gives you something back out. So it's like a vending machine that lives within our L1 ecosystem. So to explain what an NFT is a non-fungible token. So a token is a digital asset on a blockchain. You can think of a token as a representation of any sort of data. So for example, like money can be a token. You can have like $1 is like a token. You can have like Chinese yuan like as a token or whatever have you. It's just a digital asset. Non-fungible means that each token is unique and not interchangeable with another. So for example, if you were taking like a dollar bill, like if you take coins to a bank, a bank will easily change it out for like $1, or they would give you other coins. But a NFT is non-fungible, so each token is unique. So this lets you do a lot of cool things that allows you to mint digital art, collectibles, or game items, or anything that you want to prove ownership of. So for example, like let's say I was creating some form of artwork and I want to mint it in a way that shows that I was the first person to create this artwork. That's something that you can do with an NFT. You can also use an NFT to represent money. So for example, when you are the first person to create money, you would mint an NFT this way. So this contract or this code will let you create and manage NFTs. I'm going to walk you guys through each of these various parts. So this first part is creating the NFT or minting. You can create new NFTs and assign them to addresses, which is like having a wallet. And each NFT has like a unique number or a token ID. Additionally, with regards to metadata, each NFT can have associated information. So for example, let's say in my example, I was creating artwork. The associated metadata would be the artwork. This contract will allow the user to set a URI, which is basically a web address that shows the metadata for the NFT. You can also define the ownership of the contract, as well as freeze metadata. So freezing metadata basically just means making it so that the data won't ever change in the future. You can also create batch minting NFTs, so you can create multiple NFTs at once. So I'm going to take a pause there. Bria, is this meant to be like some sort of like a back and forth between yourself and myself, or should I just go throughout the whole tutorial all at once?
I think you can go through the tutorial first, and then we'll leave some time for the audience to ask questions.
Okay, for sure, for sure.
Yeah.
So with regards to how this works, people will interact with the contract by calling the functions. We keep track of who owns which NFTs, and we follow a very standard ERC 721 protocol so that wallets, marketplaces, and tools know how to interact with each of the NFTs and the smart contracts. So I'm going to show users what to do from the ground up. So what you want to first do is install Hardhat. What I'm going to do is walk you guys from the very beginning to the very end. So here I'm going to create an entirely new folder. I'll say like NFT tutorial. And then I'm going to open. And this is a completely blank workspace. I'm going to open my terminal. Oh, I should open iTerm instead, sorry. I'm going to open a terminal. And a terminal is basically how we interface with the code. So here I'm just showing you guys how we would enter. And I believe I named it something NFT. NFT. 1 second. NFT tutorial. Oh, I guess it did not pick it up. Let me create your NFT tutorial. So this is a blank project. So there's nothing in here right now. It's simply just creating like the equivalent would be like if we go here, go to like documents, developer, and I just have an empty file here. This is like the same thing. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to install the packages according to the instructions here. So we try to make it very simple for you. You just have to install Hardhat. This is bringing in a software package. The next thing that you want to do, you create this directory. I'm just going to copy paste this exactly. Now we're within the contract folder. So you can see here, I have contract within my NFT tutorial folder. Then the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to initialize the node project. So this is our front end project that shows us how to interact with our NFT. Initialize the contract here. Then I'm going to create a new Hardhat project. For here, I'm just going to create a JavaScript project. Just the default is good. I'm going to create it in my root, enter, git ignore, enter, install with sample dependencies, enter. So I'm just bringing in the most basic of the settings. So nothing complicated here. What you want to do that's really important is that you want to configure your hard hat config file to link to our Nexus network. So this will allow you to interact with our chain. You need this RPC endpoint of chain ID 3940 so that you can connect to and have a signature verification for creating the NFTs. So this is now created. LS. So LS basically just shows you the various parts. Let's see, not this. I'm gonna have to open cursor, open project. Let's see, documents, developer, NFT tutorial, contract. So I'm just opening up my code terminal so you guys can see this is a standard code. This is like the code that runs when you first create a Solidity contract. This is what I was talking about with regards to your config. You have to make sure that you have copy and paste of this config. So this config would allow you to interact with our chain. And this is the same line, so I can just delete this. So this allows you to interact with the Nexus chain. The next thing that you would want to do is you would want to find this process.env.private key. So to do this, you would go into our Nexus web app. This is our Nexus web app here. As you can see, like the globe, and here are like all of our users across the world. You would sign in. I'm signing in through my Google. And you would be able to go find your private key here. So I'm not going to show this part because this is like my own private information, but you would just follow the steps here to be able to get your private key. You would create a new file called .env in your project root directory, and then you would add your private key to that format. Private key equals your private key here. So I'm going to do that right here. This is my root. Root just basically means your home page. So this is my .env. And I would say private key equals, and then whatever private key. And once again, I'm just not going to show mine, but you can follow the steps here to basically find the private key. You would install the additional packages. You would run this in your terminal. So I'm using iTerm here. PnP. We're downloading .env, so we can load this. We would add this. I think I already added this, the required .env. Yep, that's already here, but you would need to add this if it wasn't already added. The next thing you would want to do is be able to get Nex to pay for the gas fees. So when you create an NFT, you basically put data onto our blockchain, and that takes a certain amount of gas. The easiest way that you can get gas is you just earn Nex through proving. We have a very simple system where to get points and get Nex, all you do is click one button, and it turns your computer into a node that sends information back and forth. And when you send information back and forth, you get points, which convert into Nex. So this is the easiest way, and this takes like a minute or two. Additionally, you can just go to our faucet and get a small amount of Nex as well. So you would throw in your wallet address here, and then you would click send me Nex. This gives you a very small amount of tokens that you can basically use to pay for the cost of the smart contract. And this is completely free to all of our users. So with regards to contract architecture, you would copy and paste this simple NFT architecture. So for example, you would just click copy. You would go here and like, let's say, in contracts, I might have a new file, simple NFT. And you just copy and paste. This basically, you can read through. I wrote really detailed explanation of each of these functions that I might not have time to go over in today's tutorial, but they're very standard functions. Like for example, we create the NFT here with a base URI. This is the metadata, once again. We set the base metadata, we freeze the metadata. This is how we can create a safe mint and then have ownership for the tokens. So at your own time, I encourage you to read through this for a more thorough understanding of how to create a NFT script. So this is so far, I've just went over the first part actually. This is basically the entire first part, as I explained in the beginning. We have two parts to this project, right? So the first part is that we actually wanted to create the NFTs. So this is like the NFT creation script to be deployed onto the Nexus chain. That's what I just showed you guys to do. It's super quick. The second part is like creating the actual front end to interact with that. So here we give you all the code to basically deploy your NFT like marketplace. The next thing that you would want to do is just create this deployment script that sends your smart contract to the blockchain. In a similar way, you would create a file entitled deploy.javascript, and then you copy and paste everything we have here. So I'll show you guys how to do that here. We would have like a new file, deploy.javascript. You take this, copy, paste here. And then this is the script that runs, as you can see here, as you deploy your contract with your address to our environment. So this allows you to set your information on the Nexus network. So to deploy your contract, you would run this code here, and then you would be able to see this terminal. Since I don't have my private key set, this won't actually deploy. But I've run it through, and you can see for yourself. You just like run this, and you should be able to see this text. And then you will be able to see your Explorer and your deployed contract. So this Explorer allows you to see various different code that was deployed onto our ecosystem. So this is like one example, one example here. So people are constantly deploying onto our chain. So from here, you're able to check all transactions, view your code, and track different items. So overall, once again, this is the overall structure of all of the files that you can find when you move throughout everything. I'm not going to go through the rest of this front end because it's very straightforward where you can just read the instructions and it'll tell you exactly like what each part is. This is mostly to deal with your data storage. So this deals with like how you would be able to display the actual information. So I'm going to take a pause here, Bria. That's pretty much the tutorial for everyone.
Thank you, Joseph. I think we have questions from the host as well. We'll let the host to ask questions first.
Sure.
老师，您要不要问一下问题？
我想知道，因为现在很多人在那个用那个 Foundry 开发啊，然后我们有没有那个，就是因为现在你演示的是 Hard 的版本嘛，就是有没有 Foundry 的这个example？
I think I understand the question. I think before we also were exploring working into Foundry. We can get verification for Foundry as well, but for now, for the quick start, we just use Hardhat.
OK，另外是，就我其实想知道那个 Nexus 它其实是完全 EVM 兼容，对吧？就是EVM equivalent。
Do you understand it?
然后
I think he said something like Nexus is completely using an EVM.
It's like EVM compatible.
yeah.
Yeah, it is EVM compatible, yes.
然后那就是我想知道这个 Nexus 它的特色，比如说它是怎么工作的，它和其他的一些链有什么不一样的地方？
Yeah, so what's different between Nexus and then other chains?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, that's a really good question. So the specificity, to explain, like I'm going to try to do my best explanation of like what is really interesting about Nexus and how it's different from other chains. So one of our most important portions for Nexus is this concept of a ZKVM. So a ZKVM basically helps us prove correct execution of any program. So what we do is our chain is based upon users sending in information. I'm going to open app.nexus.xyz. When users send in proofs, they basically send in information that helps us verify and validate each additional block that is added through ZK proofs. And so the information bounces back and forth to us to be able to confirm the correct execution of transactions and everything through a ZK VM. So this is what makes us different from other L1 chains or other EVM chains in general. It's this concept of being able to have a zero knowledge virtual machine. And what is really, really interesting about this space is that it has a lot of connections to AI. So as AI becomes more and more powerful, people are going to need to know that their AI models are training and running properly. Our hope is like with Nexus that we use the ZKVM and the layer 1 and the EVM compatible information to be able to confirm the correct execution of training AI code, which I think is really cool and makes us very different. If you want a better explanation of like what Nexus is, you can go onto our layer 1 overview and read through our differences with our architecture differences with different L1 chains.
其实我能简单理解一下，就是其实你们的特色在于你们有一个自己的 JKVM 来去作为类似于执行引擎吧，可以这样理解吗
Yes.
？OK，另外我刚刚还看到一个，就是你在打开浏览器的时候，你们有一个就是 L1到 L2的一个转账吧，就是我的理解是那个 Nexus 是 Layer 1的一条链，对吧？然后它的 Layer 2是你们自己做了一个 Layer 2吗？还是什么意思？
Yeah, so our original like architecture was we were a layer 2 and then we are rolling up I think onto either coin or base, like one of those chains, but we have our own like layer 1 that we're building out and we're going to be rolling that out. Like it's been rolled out. I don't know if that
Oh.
directly answers your question.
就是其实你们原本的计划是说做一条以太坊上的 Layer 2，然后现在你们转换成做自己的 Layer 1，是这个意思吗
Yeah, we're building our own layer 1 because we wanted more control over the blocks and using the
Okay.
ZKVMs.
I understand. OK，我没有其他问题啊，就我不知道其他人有没有，是吗？就你接下来还有其他的另外一部分是吗？
Like,
Joseph, do you have another part? I think that's it, right? That's the whole
yeah,
topic.
that was pretty much it that I wanted to go over for today.
我们还有别的问题吗？就是 OpenBuild 这边有没有涉及到别的问题？或者就是现在的听众们有没有问题，也可以直接问。
因为其实今天的分享里面到这个和其他的以太坊开发其实是基本上是一样的，
对，但是我觉得您刚才问的那几个问题蛮好的，就是关于 Nexus 和其他chain 的区别。对，其实最主要区别就是 ZKVM，我们是做 ZKVM 起家的。
哦，那你们和，因为现在有一些做 JKVM 的嘛，其实很多都是选择 Lisk 的架构，你们也可以介绍一下你们的，就是因为很多现在用 Lisk5 做虚拟机嘛，呃，就是做证明嘛，我不知道你们的方案也可以介绍一下。
So I heard my understanding of the question is like the differences maybe between us and like risk 0, risk 5. Yeah, so risk 0 and risk 5, they make a lot of claims with regards to speed. So they claim like, oh, we can prove like execution in like X amount of seconds, whatever. But if you like look under the hood with their architecture, it's not like we're not certain that it's fully stable. And they also don't outline exactly every part of their architecture. So it's hard for us to know. So we're focused on like making sure that we have stability and proper execution rather than like speed of proving. And other companies such as like Risk are doing like speed of proving.
我倒是这边没有什么问题，你们也可以继续介绍，如果有什么关于你们生态的计划呀，尤其是比如说在中文圈里面有没有什么计划，做一些开发者扶持啊，类似，我不知道你们有没有啊，如果有的话，也可以介绍一些。
我本身也是想在 Joseph 讲完之后要说的，我们其实就是现在也在跟国内一些社区合作嘛，就包括OpenBuild 灯链，我们接下来肯定是会在国内做很多。包括整个亚太嘛，做很多开发者相关的活动。然后最近期的话，有一个可以跟大家透露的是，我们跟 OpenBuild 做一个faucet 水龙头的这样的一个活动，就是让大家来在 Nexus 上。为什么要做这个 workshop 的原因，也是可以让大家在 Nexus 上 build 和 test dApp。对，这个会是一个小小的起步，然后可能之后的话会转换为一些线上或者线下的黑客松，包括我们9月份也会在深圳 做一个线下的活动，也欢迎大家来参加。对，这是最近期的计划。再长远一点的话呢，肯定就是我们也在为 TG 和上主网做准备。
我有个问题，就是你接下来在那个除了国内，比如说在亚太其他的地区，有没有一些活动的计划，也可以说一下，因为可能会有别的小伙伴会过去。
谢谢你提醒我。对，就是我们9月份出了国内的话，就是国内是第一个活动嘛，就深圳之后是 KPW，我们在那边有一个 side event，然后和一些 AI 的项目一起搞的，大概 Story 啊，或者就 Sahara AI，就大概这样子的项目。然后我们团队也会有核心的成员过去。在 KPW 之后的话，还会去 Token，但是 Token 这边的活动的话，我们暂时还没有确定，但是我们一定会有人在那儿。对，这是接下来目前的一个计划。
OK，刚刚那个评论区也有小伙伴提说期待一些线上的活动，然后我下一个问题可能跟开发者相关，也跟线上相关，你们接下来会不会有一些面向开发者的一些 program 这种
对对对，
东西？
有的，肯定是有的。就是我刚才也提到了嘛，就是可能就是这个 Foster 是第一步，我们会看，就是大家的参与程度，我们之后可以转换成就是更正式一点的线上的黑客松，包括线下的，我们也是考虑做的。对，其实还会有一些别的吧，就可能我们之后也会考虑 Grant 啊、Accelerator 这样子的项目。对。
我这边也没有了，看看那个其他人有没有问题。
那我们差不多可以这样，就非常感谢 Joseph，还有各位老师，包括所有来参加的朋友们。然后希望大家之后能够多多关注 Nexus 的进展。我们这几个月应该是活动包括各种项目最多的时候，因为就快了嘛，TG 和主网，希望大家多多参与。
好啊，好啊，
好，
啊，
老师
这样，
们，
拜拜。
好。
拜拜，Thank you, Joseph。
Thank you for everyone's time. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you for your time.